Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Test number 3, test 3.
night draws close, a fond embrace. The heart then slows its frantic pace, and fear drifts off like a calm breath takes its place. The cradle of a velvet wing, it holds us in its gentle swing, and peace slips in with the songs our dreams will sing. The end of day, the passing year, the rush of time need cause no fear. We'll love the night and its mystery now so near.
Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the long-timers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. Welcome and good morning to our friends joining us on live stream. You are in for a treat today. Our longtime member and lay preacher, Terry Trindler, is offering today's worship service, and she created this beautiful altar up here on the chancel. Terry, thank you for sharing your time and talent with us today. And just a reminder that as we move through the reality of this disaster that really has touched each and every one of us in so many different ways, and in ways that won't really even be clear for quite some time now, that Throop is here to hold you and tend to you. And we are really all holding and carrying each other through this time in which none of us 3 weeks ago would have even been able to imagine. And you'll see ways that we are reaching out to support those members and friends who have been directly impacted. We send that information out by email. And if you are someone who has been impacted and you need some extra support from Throop, please reach out to me or Nick, our intern minister, and we'll make sure that we get you connected in with help and support to help carry you through. And every Sunday as we gather here in this sacred space, we're reminded that each one of us is a light in the world, and the flame from our chalice symbolizes and reflects that light.
Our time in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame from our candles of hope and witness. Please listen to these words from Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, No matter how lonely, the world offers you its imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting over and over again, announcing your place in the family of things. We light a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose lands we now occupy. The land under and around Throop is the unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva Band of Mission Indian people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into dismantling systems of supremacies and oppressions. We light a third candle symbolizing our watershed, the Arroyo Seco. May their waters continue to nourish life in our communities. We take a moment of silence, holding all of these in our hearts. And now, as you are willing and able, please join the choir on hymn number 1001 in the teal hymnals. Please stand if you're willing and able. And this is our chance to greet one another, if you will. Check and see if they are willing for hugs or handshakes, and introduce yourself.
Those who have died have never, never left the dead are alive with the living. They are in the moment's rest, they are in the wailing child, they are with us in our homes, they are with us in this ground. The dead have alive with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. It's the ancestors' breath, and the fire's voice is heard. It's the ancestors' breath, in the voice of the water's song.
Thank you, choir and Malcolm. One of the hallmarks of Throop that led me here was our respect for the environment. So if you will turn in your order of worship to our promise to the planet and say that with me. As members of the family of living beings on earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. With hearts filled with love for it, and eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, we promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself. And today for our responsive reading, it is in the gray hymnal if you want to follow along, but Spencer will give you all the details.
The congregational response is, woven together, our shared stories shape our lives. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives. Woven together, our shared stories shape our lives. To resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude. Woven together, our shared stories shape our lives. Taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. Woven together, our shared stories shape our lives. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. Woven together, our shared stories shape our lives.
Now I'm very pleased to share a story with you, and I met the author through Facebook, and she's given me permission, Victoria Beata, to edit her story a little bit, but the web address, if you like her, is in your order of service. Once upon a time, when the snow lay deep and quiet upon the ground, the creatures of the glen gathered. Now, the creatures of the glen are not ordinary creatures, oh no. They're small and clever, some soft and some swift, and some wise in ways you could scarcely imagine. In the heart of the glen, where the old stone circle stands tall and timeless, a single candle flickers, casting its brave little light across the snow. But this is no ordinary candle. It's the light of the glen, lit every winter by Rabbit, the solemn and steadfast guardian of the glen, who watched over its creatures through storm and snow, through winter's chill and spring's awakening. Now, Rabbit was not a plain rabbit, not at all. He was the rabbit of the glen, with fur as soft as moss and ears that seemed to catch every whisper of the woods. Rabbit had placed the candle at the center of the circle himself, for it was his duty to ensure its light burned brightly, guiding the glen's creatures through the longest night. "Come close, my friends," Rabbit called, his deep, gentle voice carrying through the frosty air. "The candle is lit and the night is cold, but there is warmth for all who gather here." The first to arrive was Mouse, and you must know, Mouse was the kindest and most clever of creatures. She was a tiny thing with fur the color of warm toast and whiskers that twitched when she was thinking, which was most of the time. She carried a basket with oatcakes and tiny mince pies she had baked herself. Mouse said as she placed her basket by the candle, "It's a fine night for a gathering. Have any others arrived?" "Not yet," Rabbit said, "but they will." And indeed they came. The shrew was next, a creature so small she might have been mistaken for a shadow darting through the snow. She carried a pouch of dried berries, each one polished to a gleam, and scattered them near the candle for all to share. "A merry night to you both," she squeaked, her voice as light as a snowflake. Then came the hedgehogs, rolling like little spiky snowballs. They shook off their frost with great gusto and placed a plate of seed cakes besides Mouse's mince pies. "We've brought something to share," they called, their voices bright and cheerful. And high in the trees the owls perched, their feathers as pale as the moon. "Hoo-hoo," they called softly, their golden eyes glinting. "We've no cakes to bring, but we can sing a song or two." Rabbit smiled and nodded. "Come down and warm your talons. There's room enough for all." And at last came Raven, who was always the last to arrive. Raven was no ordinary bird. He was grand and glossy, with feathers blacker than the midnight sky and eyes that gleamed like polished jet. He carried no feast, for Raven's gift was his voice, deep and rich as the echo of the wind through the trees. As he landed, Raven bowed low. And then there came a soft sound, like the rustle of leaves or the sigh of wind, and from the shadows stepped Magic. She was wrapped in a shimmering cloak of starlight, and her holly crown sparkled with frost. "Best beloveds," she said, her voice like the hush of snowfall, "the light of this candle is small, but its flame is strong. Let it remind you that even in the smallest light can guide you through the darkest nights. May the warmth of your gathering carry you through the cold of winter, and may you always find a place to share your joy." She stepped forward and cupped her hands around the candle's flame, and though the light did not flicker, it seemed to grow warmer and brighter, filling the glen with its glow. Then, as softly as she had disappeared into the misty woods. The creatures sat in silence, their hearts filled with wonder, until Mouse stood and raised her tiny mug of tea. "To the light," she cried. "To the light," all the others echoed, their voices bright and merry. And when dawn finally crept over the hills, it found the glen still glowing, not just with the light from the candle, but with the warmth of the hearts that had shared their stories, their laughter, and joy. Now, if you will join us in singing the children out to their program with Faith and Carson, it's also in the order of your worship.
For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be.
And I couldn't get Paul Simon to come, so Spencer has agreed to read his words.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again because a vision, softly creeping, left its seeds while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams, I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the nights and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light, I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fools, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and the tenement halls and whispered in the sounds of silence.
This church is our church, and we support it through our gifts of time, our gifts of talent, and our gifts of treasure. You can give online. The directions for that are in the order of worship, or place your gift in the offering plate as it comes by. But if you're a first-time visitor, please don't. Thank you for supporting our life together. The offering will now be gratefully received.
If you're lost and you're lonely, Go and figure out why. Take a trip to your dark side. Go on and have a good cry. 'Cause we're all lonely. Yeah, we're all lonely together. I want to see your sadness. I want to share your sins. I want to bleed your blood, and I want to be let in. Don't we all just wanna be together? Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. If your face is down, take a look around. Do your fingers move? Do your lungs inflate? Are you tired? Are you weary of the hidden hate you've been holding? Hey, did you lose that love, or have you never had it? Are you feeling sad because you did a bad thing? Hey, leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Are you feeling fearful, cousin? Are you feeling fearful, family? The only way to lose that fearful feeling, replace it with love that's healing. Are you feeling fearful, cousin? Are you feeling fearful, family? Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind. Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind.
In a spirit of gratitude, we lift up our thanks to those supporting our worship service today, Rev Tara for giving us our greeting, and Brad who's working our live stream, Spencer for helping me with the chalice lighting and the pondering words and the responsive reading, Carson and Faith who are upstairs with the children's program, Robbie who is our greeter and usher, and Tom, who's the coffee and conversation host. That'll be in the hall following the benediction. And Malcolm and choir on this music, and Fillory for all of her administrative support. As we pause in recognition for all of the ways we support our Throop community life, please say with me the words of gratitude that are in your order of service. With gratitude for the ministries of the church that holds us and emboldens us to love the world, we bless our offering and the many gifts we share. And you may remain seated. Our centering hymn is in the gray hymnal. It's number 402.
From you I receive, to you I give, together and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
And I am very pleased to share the pulpit today with a visitor returning from a long stay away. If you've never met Melanie, she's a longtime member who has relocated to Crockett, Texas, and I'm offering her
Named after
the
Davy.
pastoral prayer.
Named after Davy because he spent the night there one night. And then he went and got killed at the Alamo, and they felt really bad about it. So, yeah. There's a mural. So there you go. Hello, again, I'm Melanie Hooks, and it's just such a pleasure and an honor to be here with you again. I lived in our area for about a decade, and I was very involved in Throop, and it's just been one of the joys of my life. I moved, in fact, because my family suffered a massive natural disaster. And I actually had this ticket already scheduled for this weekend because it was on sale at the holidays, and it was kismet that I was here. So it's a privilege to be able to speak to you today. People, I'm just going to tell you this now as somebody who's been on the other side. I'm not speaking on behalf of your disaster. You have your own disaster, much like a divorce. They're very individual. I've been through that too. And just like that, people are going to say a lot of stupid things to you in the name of compassion. Right. And just my advice there is try to be patient, and I'm just really going to try hard to not be one of those people today. What we're going to try is walking through a visceral prayer experience, one that lives in our body, so that we can try to release some of the tension that I know everybody is probably feeling. I'm going through it just watching it on the news all the time. I can't imagine how much tension is in all of your bodies. And then we're going to maybe welcome in some healing energies that we found, my family and I found pretty pragmatic. So I invite everybody to, as we go through these releases, shake your body, your head, groan, shout, laugh, cry, whatever seems natural to you. So the first things that we're going to release, 3 things that we have no control over. Normal. Normal, my friends, is gone. And if you would just like to say goodbye, now is your chance. Goodbye. Bye. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Normal. Gone. Not coming back. And what we really found is that our first instinct, after a tornado leveled my family's entire street and their forever home that they had retired to in 2008, was that the natural instinct is I've got to get back to normal right away. My mother had never had a real home of her own because we're an Army family that relocated, and that was her sanctuary, and it just devastated her. So trying to get back to it led to problems. Schedules, number 2. All right, just say, I'd love everybody to wave goodbye to a schedule. Bye, see ya. Because God, I hope that many people will be stepping in to help all of you. Agencies, builders, friends, all of the insurance, all the people who are supposed to be helping you. But I'm just here to tell you, your schedule, they couldn't care. It's not like that has no concern of theirs. Your schedule is something that is just, you're going to laugh at eventually. Like, oh yeah, that painting was supposed to be done in February. It's, October. And the unfortunate thing about this, and the reason that I mention it, is your expectations of a schedule are the way that predators who will come in, they are going to be here. I'm sure they're already here waiting for you in the rubble, will promise you to rebuild and promise you your community the same way that it was. They're taking advantage of your need to get back to normal and your need for a schedule. So I just give you this warning because my mother's demands that she be back in a rebuilt house in July after a March storm. Right, exactly. Thank you. Laughable, right, to the rest. So expectations, number 3. You're just going to expect that your insurance company knows, oh yeah, I don't have a home, so I don't have Wi-Fi, and I sure don't have a cell phone tower, and they're going to require you to be on 3 Zoom calls a week. How? Nobody knows. So those were things that if you would like to just kick some expectations to the curb, I think that's really fantastic. Just kick them. Kick them away. Kick them away. Yeah. They're not going to work out. Normal and schedules lead to these things, expectations, because that's how we organize our lives. But unfortunately, like the pressure of that is what, in the end, wore out my mother's heart. And you're going to see some of your friends going through some really difficult emotional journeys. And she only made it 2 months after, before her heart gave out. So these are all really painful to relive and to release. And the thing is, to some degree, that's everything I just said is impossible to do because we're human and we need our world to make sense, and our brains don't stop needing that despite all evidence to the contrary. So here are 3 other things that we have found really, really worked for us instead. And I'm hoping that when you breathe them in, they might stay somewhere there in your muscle memory to help you. Openness to small miracles. Just breathe in that possibility. Because they are, in fact, everywhere. What we came to believe was there's no such thing as a small miracle. All of them are. What you want after these things is for your house to be rebuilt really quickly, and for your insurance company to be honest and easy to work with, and for a federal agency to move quickly. And instead what happens is that a con man gets your mom to sign a contract in the rubble, and she gives them all of her insurance money, and they go away. Right. But then also a childhood friend of your father's takes you in for 9 months for free while we go through hell. So we also had our emotional worlds take over, and that was a struggle. But I invite you again to breathe in, trust for your emotions. This is a harder one. Breathe in, breathe out. What we found was that your logical brain takes over. You have so many logistical challenges ahead, and everybody is expecting you to make massive decisions that will affect the rest of your life, and they have deadlines, and you have no idea what you want, what you're supposed to be doing. And so you're shutting down your emotions because you have a lot of brain work to do. But actually, if my mother had just said, I'm not in control, and let us help, she might still be here. But also, our friends were just spectacular. Some of them won't be able to handle it. You won't hear from some people. And others that you barely know are going to step in and love you. It's fantastic. People from all over the world, people from here, were talking to us in tiny, tiny little Crockett, Texas, and telling me how to replant, because I've never grown anything successfully in my whole life. And now I have 4.5 acres to reforest because it was clear cut in the tornado. Right. And we all realized that we had not been, after Mom passed, we had not been telling each other the truth about how hurt we were and how hard it is to lose your sanctuary and your community. Because I lost two. I lost the one there and I lost the one here. And grieving that openly is your only way through. It's the only way. It sucks and it's going to be awful and you're going to cry a lot and you should. Don't suppress it. Trust your emotions. And so finally, the third, to breathe in. Creativity, which I bet you're not going to hear on the news or from your insurance agent. This is such a lifesaver. Breathe in. I'd love for you to feel it in your fingers and your body and your toes because you are still a creative being. Even if you're facing crazy devastation, I've learned how creative Mother Nature is. My great-grandmother's bluebells were reignited after we thought we lost all of our topsoil. The fact that I garden is ridiculous, but I'm also watercoloring now, and I can't draw a stick figure. I've joined local classes to do that. I, in fact, was a screenwriter while I was here professionally, and now I write for fun. It's delightful. You will need to be creative to deal with all of the challenges coming up, but you are, and you can be. Because we all need art and we all need beauty. And I think that that's something to not lose in this time when you're feeling really, really empty and really, really challenged. Go be somewhere beautiful. Find the beauty of a gathering of friends. Go see a painting. That's the first thing that I did when I got off the plane on Friday was I went to the Norton Simon Art Museum and I visited some of my oldest friends there. I love those paintings. Wherever you find it, I'm now our music director and choir director, which is crazy. Crazy. So you just never know because that's just what my community needed. So breathing out, normal, expectations, schedules, bye-bye, one more time. Bye. And breathe in, miracles. We have a dog. I never thought I would have that. He's a miracle. Breathe in the trust in your own emotional journey. It'll get you there. And breathe in creativity to handle what is ahead, which is sure to be beautiful. You will love what you rebuild and what your community eventually becomes again. I have every faith. Thank you.
Take me to the breaking of the beautiful dawn. Take me to the place where we come from. Take me to the end so I can see the start. There's only one way to mend a broken heart. I don't feel so small. Take me where I don't need to stand so tall. Take me to the edge so I can fall apart. There's only one way to mend a broken heart. Take me to where love is not for sale. Take me where our hearts are not so frail. Take me where the fire still owns its spark. There's only one way to mend a broken heart. Teach me how to see when I close my eyes. Teach me to forget and to apologize. Show me how to love in the darkest dark. There's only one way to mend a broken heart. Take me where the angels are close on hand. Take me where the ocean meets the land. Show me to the wisdom of the evening stars. There's only one way to mend a broken heart. Take me to the place where I feel no shame. Take me where the courage doesn't need a name. Learning how to cry is the hardest part. There's only one way to mend a broken heart.
So many hard acts to follow. Welcome to January 26th. We've made it this far. So, how many of you, by show of hands, how many of you made any New Year's resolution this year? Anyone? A couple? Okay. How many of you are still keeping it this year? There are exactly 6 nights left of dry January. No one's counting. But last year, I set a resolution for myself to try meditating. I'm not a very meditative person, so I used a crutch. I got the Calm app and a lot of calming tea. But the Calm app was sponsored by my work, so it was free, and the episodes are only about 7 or 8 minutes, so I can listen in my bubble bath in the morning. Don't judge me. And I chose, of all of the various podcasters, I chose Jay Shetty, who is a British-born former monk, easy to listen to, pretty easy on the eyes too, but there's no visuals. And on December 16th of last year, 2 things happened very coincidentally. It was the first week, the first Monday after my semester ended, yay! And so I had a little bit of free time. And on that day, Reverend Tara wrote me and said, would you like to give the January 12th sermon? And I had just joined a writing group the Saturday before, so I thought, okay, I have something to write now. And that morning, Jay Shetty's episode was called Conversations and Closeness, which is the title of this little tiny talk. And he said, basically, in order to get close, we're not doing a very good job with our conversations. He said most of the time we're basically killing time. We're asking throwaway questions, and he gave an example of 2. So, you don't have to raise your hand this time. How many of you have started a conversation today or this past month with, hey, how about the weather? It's cold today, right? This is rare. It's cold. We have rain. There's supposed to be acid rain, and there might be mudslides. And talking about the weather, we all have an app for that. We all know it's cold. That's really, 46 seconds is how short our attention spans have grown to. Back in 2004, UC Irvine did a study, and we used to, before smartphones, have over 2 minutes of attention span for a computer or a screen like a phone. But then smartphones and TikTok and Instagram, and we're down to 47 seconds. So how's that weather? We're done. Let's move on. Second question he suggested, that's a little bit better, was seen any good movies or shows or read any good books lately? And I haven't, but if Denise was here, Denise has watched all the shows, and she reviews them online, all the shows, and I got permission to say it. So if you want to see a good show, she'll tell you what to steer clear of. And if you're at a book club, you actually might have a chance to read some life-changing book and talk about it. But really, how many of us write down the suggestions if somebody said, yes, the book I'm reading right now is fantastic? Do we even remember it the 47 seconds later? Not so much. So then he leapt the shark and said, why not try this? And I don't recommend it, not even coffee hour today. It almost made me get out of my bubble bath. He said, what if you asked a person, what are you most deeply afraid of? No. What? I don't know. Well, yeah. The top 3 are spiders and snakes and heights. I'm not afraid of those. I'm a professor of biology. I kind of like those things. But I was sitting in a bubble bath on December 16th, and a thought came to my head, a really loud whisper in my head, and it said, the thing I am most deeply afraid of, besides crying in the pulpit, but I have a hanky, is dying lonely. That's not dying. I work with cadavers. I'm not afraid of dying. We will all do that. And it's natural for us to become lonely, but the pandemic has worsened a situation of social isolation. And the American Medical Association said that we people are 30% more likely to develop heart disease or have a stroke if we're suffering from loneliness. So I recognized a little self-reflection. I have 2 reasons for having this particular fear that I'm sharing with you, and you don't have to share yours with me, but one was that I watched my father's demise. And he died back in 2009 after a number of heart-related issues. He had clogged vessels, he needed a stent, he had heart attacks, and eventually he was hospitalized with congestive heart failure, which I teach about. The problem was my mother had passed away 14 years earlier, and he had fallen out of all of their social circles. So he didn't have friends that he could talk to daily. My siblings and I all lived out of the same city, same state, but out of city. And when he was hospitalized, he was really scared. He'd never had anything I would call religion. He had logic, and that's my left brain right there, but I don't want to follow in his footsteps. So, taking a clue from Miss Melanie, I got a little creative. And I'd like to tell you the other reason that I have a fear of loneliness, and specifically the coldness of loneliness. And I'm going to tell it to you as a little bit of a story. So once upon a time, there was a princess. And she lived in a beautiful kingdom we shall call Pasadena. And she had everything that she could desire, but she grew callous to all of her good weather and her friends and her work, and she was looking for meaning. And so when a court jester showed up in the kingdom, she was immediately attracted, and this court jester offered her a life far, far away from boring old Pasadena. He was inheriting his family's business in the strange and far-off country of Wisconsin. But as women whose biological clocks are ticking and running down are apt to do, she jumped at the chance for a ring on the left hand and followed him. So in the summer of 2010, the princess moved over 2,000 miles away and arrived in a town of 4,000 people known as Tomahawk. And it wasn't a happily ever after. The jester and the princess really didn't see eye to eye, and very, very few months passed before she was looking for her own castle. Unfortunately, again, 2,000 miles away from all of her friends and her family, and so she did what any good fairy tale or terry tale character would do. She looked to nature to see how the animals survived the upcoming cold. And she found 3 creatures to try to emulate, but it wasn't so successful. First, she looked to the sky and she saw wild geese. And she realized what they did was they ran away from the cold. They migrated. And lots of her friends, the princesses, they said, come back to Pasadena, you can sleep on our couch, you don't have to be there. But she was stubborn and self-reliant like her father, the king, and so she said, no, I'm not turning tail, I'm staying here. Secondly, she looked to the water, and did you know that there are fish in the ocean like the Arctic cod, whose environment is so cold it would freeze their blood solid, except they have proteins in their blood that act like antifreeze. And the princess looked around in a Tomahawk. A lot of drinkers were inebriating themselves with their own special form of antifreeze. A lot. There were more bars than churches. But she thought that wasn't her way either, so she tried one more time, and she looked to the forests and the ground, and she saw the black bear. Now, black bears are pretty smart. They eat everything they want for fall, which she was in, and then they go into a den and sleep for 4 or 5 months, total isolation. That sounded really appealing. Didn't need to work, found a cottage on a lake, was a drive into town across the frozen lake. But the princess said, no, that's not for me. It wasn't until she returned home she found the perfect animal to emulate, and they're a very small rodent called a vole. They are natives to California, and they're also known as a meadow mouse. And what voles do when they're not working, they're very busy vegans, they have to get enough food to survive, and it takes them all of the dusk and all of the dawn. But when they're in danger, natural disaster, predator, they burrow. They make complex burrows underground, and they get deep with their family. They cuddle together for warmth, to support one another, and I think we could all do a pretty good job at Throop of mimicking the little voles. So I have 3 ingredients in a recipe I suggest for us, and they're somewhat similar to Melanie's. The very first thing is you have to find a community, whether that be singing in Crockett or here at Throop. The princess joined the women's pool team back in Tomahawk. You need to be out. You can't stay in your den. Find a community. Second thing, you have to connect. And this is risky. You have to find out something about people. Really ask them questions and listen to who likes Care Bears and who has accordions and who is studying botany. And then remember those things to follow up when you see something related. But the last one is the most important, and that's to get deep. We can't just ask about the weather. We can't just talk about the show that we watched or fell asleep during last night. We actually have to talk about our feelings of despair, of the things that are going wrong for us, and the things that are miracles that make us joyful. We all need connection. It's the thing that separates us from so many of our animals in the animal kingdom. So, if you will connect with your hymn book and rise if you're willing and able. Our closing hymn is in the blue book. It's number 1021, and it's Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Follow your right, give my hands, willing to honor, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I ride up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just all arms are when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
somebody to lean on.
And please remain standing for the benediction. There's a saying that goes, having a place to go is home, having someone to love is family, and having both is a blessing. I hope you feel that, as I do, Throop is our home and we are family, so we are blessed. Place a hand over your heart and reach out a hand to someone else in the room. I'll extinguish the chalice and flames during this last number. We carry the light with us, and you are more than welcome to join the choir in our postlude, which is Stand By Me.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see, I won't cry, no I won't pray, be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, you just stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
Please join us in Throop Hall for coffee and conversation.